I never thought I would be the kind of man who sits in a dark car at midnight, watching a window, feeling the engine go cold. What do you do when the one person you built your entire world around becomes a stranger in your own home? The first time I saw her Lexus parked on this quiet tree-lined street in Lincoln Park, I told myself it was a coincidence. A client meeting, maybe. The second time, a week later, the knot in my stomach tightened into a cold, hard stone. But this, the third time, seeing her car parked under the dim glow of a street lamp outside his brownstone. This was no coincidence. This was a pattern. This was a choice. And as I sat there, the faint scent of her perfume still clinging to the passenger seat, I knew my life as I knew it was already over. I just hadn't admitted it to myself yet. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from, and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. Our life was supposed to be perfect. We had the condo overlooking Millennium Park, the weekend trips to Lake Geneva, the shared jokes that no one else understood. Sarah and I were a team, or so I thought. For 10 years she was the sun I orbited. But the light had been dimming for months, so slowly I almost didn't notice. It started with the late nights at the office, her phone always angled away from me, the laughter that would stop the second I walked into the room. She'd started talking about Mark, a new partner at her law firm, with a little too much admiration. "He's brilliant," she'd say, "a real shark in the courtroom." I didn't think anything of it. I trusted her. I was a fool. The distance between us grew into a canyon. She became cold, critical. My jokes weren't funny anymore. My choice of restaurant was always wrong. She'd look at me with a kind of detached pity, as if I were a project she'd lost interest in. The villains in this story, Sarah and Mark, they moved with the untouchable arrogance of people who believe they're smarter than everyone else. They thought their secret was safe, wrapped in the plausible deniability of work functions and late-night legal briefs. They had no idea I was sitting in my car on North Orchard Street, the digital clock on the dashboard glowing 12:17 a.m., watching the lights in his apartment finally go out. That night, something inside me shattered. I drove home through the empty streets of Chicago, the city lights blurring through my tears. I walked into our pristine, silent apartment, a monument to a life that was now a lie. I saw her picture on the mantelpiece, her bright, smiling face, and the rage was so pure, so absolute. It almost brought me to my knees. That was my breaking point. The loyal, loving husband died in that moment. What was left was a man with nothing to lose and a single burning purpose, to gather proof. The next morning, I was a different person. I made her coffee, just like always. I asked about her late night at the office. "It was brutal," she said, not even looking up from her phone. "We're just trying to close the Henderson deal." The ease with which she lied was breathtaking. My new life began. I became a ghost in my own home, a strategist planning a war. I found the old iPad she'd forgotten in a desk drawer. It was still synced to her iMessage. The texts were all there, a sickening timeline of their affair. Hotel reservations in the Gold Coast. Jokes about me. Plans for their future, a future built on the ashes of our marriage. I screenshotted everything, my hands shaking not with sadness but with a cold, methodical fury. I hired the best divorce attorney in Chicago, a woman known for her ruthlessness. We set the traps. I moved our joint savings into a separate account my lawyer controlled. I documented every expensive gift she bought, every spa day, every dollar she spent from our shared funds while betraying me. I was preparing for a legal annihilation. But the law wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel the same public humiliation she had forced on me in private. The opportunity came 2 months later at the firm's annual awards dinner at the Drake Hotel. It was the biggest night of her career. She was receiving a major award. Mark would be there, her family, her colleagues, everyone who saw her as this brilliant, untouchable woman. She stood at the podium, bathed in the spotlight, thanking her team, her mentors, and finally me. "And to my husband," she said, her voice thick with false emotion, "whose unwavering support has been my rock." The room applauded, stood up, and for a moment she thought I was standing in ovation. I walked to the front of the room and took the second microphone. "I agree," I said, my voice echoing through the silent ballroom. Her rock. The one she stood on while she was sleeping with Mark. A collective gasp sucked the air out of the room. I projected the screenshots of their texts onto the massive screen behind her. The hotel bookings, the intimate conversations, the jokes about the clueless husband. Sarah's face collapsed. The color drained from her skin, her perfect mask of success shattering into a million pieces. Mark looked like a cornered animal. The room was a sea of shocked faces, whispers turning into a roar of judgment. She was ruined. Her career, her reputation, her family's respect, all of it, gone in an instant. She ran from the stage, a pariah in a designer dress. I didn't stay to watch the fallout. I walked out of the hotel and into the cool Chicago night. There was no triumph, no satisfaction, just a vast, hollow emptiness. I had one. I had destroyed her, just as I'd planned. But all I had done was burn down a house that was already in ashes. Now, I just stand in the wreckage alone. The end.